Renault is the second biggest selling car brand in Europe, and the Clio is one of its biggest superstars, having sold by the bucket load since it first arrived on our shores back in 1990. We've had this fourth generation Clio for about 6 months now, since just after its 2016 facelift, and it's given us plenty of time to examine its pros and cons as a small hatchback. During its time with us, it's ferried us up and down the country, acted as a pool car for virtually the whole Auto Trader road test team, and also been in a roundabout town runaround. We've racked up almost 5,000 miles in our Clio so that we can tell you whether its refresh keeps it competitive against some excellent rivals. Here are the things we like and don't like about it. Relatively sensible versions of hatchbacks can often lack visual pizzazz, but we really like the lines on this Dynamique S Nav model. The black 17-inch alloy wheels add extra sparkle to a curvy shape, and in our eyes it's a real looker in this iron blue metallic paint. Renault do make a hot, sporty version of the Clio, and although this isn't it, it feels really solid through the corners with good weight to the steering. I've genuinely enjoyed driving it on flowing country roads. Instead of a traditional key, our Clio comes as standard with a card that you just keep in your pocket or bag. Simply press the button on the door handle to lock and unlock the car, and press the start button to fire up the engine. Super easy. This might seem like a weird thing to focus on, but the Dynamique S Nav model comes as standard with full LED headlights. And they are, quite literally, brilliant when driving in the countryside at night, flooding the road ahead with much more light than you get from traditional headlights. And I really miss them when driving other lesser equipped cars. Those of us with an old school sizist attitude to engines might turn your noses up at the prospect of a tiny little 1.2 litre engine, but that would be a mistake. The turbocharged TCE 120 petrol engine we've got is an absolute little peach with plenty of punch, and it's attached to a decent manual gearbox as well. Fuel economy wise, we've managed just over 40 mpg during our time with the car, and I suspect we probably could have got a little better if we'd have put our minds to it. Remember how much we said we liked the keyless entry feature? Well, that's when it works, and all too often it doesn't. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it, but fairly regularly I'll press the button on the door handle and absolutely nothing will happen. It's very annoying, and yet 10 minutes later it'll work absolutely fine. I like to play music and podcasts while I'm on the move, using the car's sound system through the USB port on the dashboard. I also usually use a Sat-nav app on my phone rather than the inbuilt system. The problem is that the power coming from the USB port isn't enough to keep my phone charged. I've had to take to using an external battery pack and playing music through Bluetooth just so my phone doesn't die on long journeys. While we're on the subject of music, the Clio's Media Nav infotainment system and my iPhone do not get on, with numerous inconsistent problems. To play music from my podcast app or from Spotify, I should just be able to plug it into the USB port, select iPod on the system and press play on my phone. Sometimes it just doesn't work. When it does work and I'm on the move, if I pause a song or get a phone call, it won't resume to what was playing before. Instead, it'll default to the first alphabetical track on my phone, which is Across the Universe by the Beatles. It means I have to pull over, reselect the song I was listening to before, and then carry on. It also means I hate that song, and it's a really good song. Don't get me wrong, I like cruise control and I use it a lot, but the button to turn it on, for some reason, is on the floor by the gear stick. Just put it on the steering wheel, Renault. Also, once you do turn it on, it takes over the dashboard display so that you can't see any of the trip information without scrolling through the menu. I like the idea of an integrated sat-nav system in theory, but in practice I found that the Renault system picks some curious routes and the traffic information isn't as accurate as on my chosen iPhone app. I've come to Renault London West in West London to find out more about how other Clio customers spec their cars. George, the sales executive, said that the Clio was universally popular, with customers ranging from those looking for their first cars to pensioners and everyone in between. The most popular trim level tends to be the Dynamique Nav, but plenty of people step up to the Dynamique S Nav that we've got because of the extra kit and minimal monthly extra cost when paying on finance. Historically, they've sold more diesel Clios here than petrol, but the recent confusion over the future of diesel has reversed that in the past year or so. The TCE 90 petrol engine is the most popular, but there's been plenty of interest in the extra pep of the TCE 120 engine that we've got, which is a more recent addition to the range. Popular options include the upgraded Bose sound system, and in cities, plenty of people are interested in an automatic gearbox rather than a manual. So, knowing what we know now, what would we change about our Clio if we were to get one again? Well, I'm a big fan of the Dynamique S Nav trim and also of the TCE 120 petrol engine, so I probably wouldn't change those. They offer a great balance between performance, features and price. I also love the iron blue metallic paint, which is about a £650 option, and I think that's worth shelling out for. Our car also has a £250 optional reversing camera, which was nice to have, but probably not essential because reversing sensors are standard. I've not been particularly wowed by the Media Nav infotainment system, and it's possible to get an upgraded version called R-Link for between £600 and £1,200 depending on what services you want with it. However, having tried that in other cars, we've not been particularly wowed by R-Link either, so it's probably best to have a play with the different systems in a showroom and decide which one you like the best. My time with the Clio has been a mildly frustrating one. Fundamentally, I like it, the way it looks, the way it drives, although there are newer, better rivals on the market. But some of the small, seemingly trivial annoyances are magnified when they occur every day. It may well be that with a better infotainment system and more luck with electrical gremlins, my experience would be much more positive. As beneath the inconsistencies, there's a really decent little car.